Um, my name is Moses, and we'll be starting our session shortly. I'll give about 1 minute to see if we get more people to join in. But while that's happening, I will do a brief introduction of our speaker today. It's going to be my pleasure actually to introduce our speaker today and also to host this event. Our speaker is Khan Togut. He's a Microsoft AI MVP, a hybrid cloud solutions architect, an AI engineer, and he specializes on building custom AI agents, local AI systems, and multi-agent workflows. It's also interesting to know that he's also focused on designing and building scalable cloud platforms. So he does all of this from the angle of Microsoft Azure, Microsoft ecosystem, and even other ecosystems. He's passionate about sharing knowledge. He enjoys mentoring, workshops, and speaking engagements. As you would notice if you go through his LinkedIn profile, you see a lot of engagements. And also, he's also actively involved in disseminating information about cloud, AI, and infrastructure in general within the social media space. While the introduction has just happened, thank you so much, Khan, for coming online. It's wonderful, and we hope to hear some amazing things within the space of the topic we're speaking on today. He'll be sharing insights around from single agent to multi-agent workflows within Microsoft Azure AI Foundry. With that said, I would like to give the spotlight to Kanchogots. Thank you very much. You can now have the floor.
Amazing, Moses. Thank you so much for the great introduction here. You guys are able to hear me well, right?
Yes, we can.
All right, amazing. So first of all, thanks everyone for joining us on Saturday. My name is Con Turgut. I am from Toronto, Canada. And today I'm going to be doing a great session, hopefully a beneficial and helpful session for all, called Beyond a Single Agent, which is essentially will be around building multi-agent workflows using Python, Microsoft Agent Framework. So before further ado, before jumping in there, just a quick introduction. I know Moses already introduced me, but from my perspective, my name is Good from Toronto, Canada. I'm a Microsoft AI Foundry MVP, and I am a community speaker and contributor around the globe. So I do a lot of speaking sessions, demos across the world, across the markets and industries. I'm also a DevOps, cloud and AI engineer. So I get my hands dirty all the time, other than speaking, designing solutions, building, delivering, and troubleshooting solutions. If you like to connect with me on LinkedIn, please feel free to scan my QR code on the top right. That will take you to my LinkedIn profile. And if you have any questions at any point, you can always reach out to me through my socials. Um, and going further, in today's sessions, so the demo will be around a problem and how I solve it myself. Basically, excuse me, we all know, we all basically plan a vacation from some time to some time. And that's always a hurdle for myself to plan something when I'm going somewhere. So, one trip planner, five specialists. What it means is basically I do have a problem where when I try to plan something, the destination that I go, I don't know. And when I try to use a single agent, basically it breaks because there are a lot to do when you're planning. For instance, if you have a destination and if you have a budget and if you have a taste that you want to do, a single agent may not have all the capabilities, or it may burden out tokens, which will give you a hard time as well as a lot of time consumption. And then how I solve it is basically build an multiple agent orchestration using Microsoft Agent Framework in Microsoft AI Foundry with specialist agents and tools, as well as orchestrating those that will give me the best output. So the problem is a single agent always breaks. If you have multiple things to do in your workflow or in your operation, a single agent can break at a scale. What it means? Basically, context plotting. You have one mega prompt that you give to your agents, your AI, that you want to do a lot of stuff, but it basically concentrates silently, that falls out of the Windows context window. And as I mentioned, you can only get as specialized as possible in a single agent, right? As a human being, I can only have much knowledge, but if I have a team of engineers with different specialties, that is a more powerful team with different specialties. So we can actually get the work more accurately and done in a timely manner. Then you also get poor error recovery in a single agent, where a single bad section poisons the whole workflow, because there's no other agent that can actually validate and correct that agent, right? And then basically one toolbox for everything. As I mentioned, if you have a single agent and if you have multiple tools that you want to attach, that will burden out that single agent. As you can think about a human, you can only teach me as much, but you cannot teach me everything in the industry, right? So that's where we actually will dive into the Microsoft AI Foundry multiple multi-agent workflows. But before further ado, I wanna explain what the Microsoft AI Foundry is, right? So Microsoft AI Foundry is a unified umbrella platform living in Azure environment that you can do all of your AI related operations and basically workflows in a single platform, whether it's deploying a LLM models, whether it's deploying AI apps or agents. You can do anything and everything in Microsoft AI Foundry, right? Going further, where Foundry fits in this demo is basically we will deploy our large language model, which is GPT-5 Mini in this case, into Microsoft AI Foundry. Then we will actually deploy our agents, hosted agents in Microsoft AI Foundry. So everything will live remotely in Microsoft ecosystem here, but everything will be developed with Python. And for our infrastructure stack, it will be Bicep. One sentence in and a grounded trip brief out. So the anchor is basically what we want to have at the end of this session is I have a single sentence. Let's say I want to plan a 3 day trip to Valletta in April with the budget of $2,200. For those know, the Valletta, it's one of the cities in Malta. I think Moses or Imo can chime in there, but it's a great city. So I was wondering, when we develop this workflow, will it actually give me a good itinerary to trip to Valletta here? And actually, I get a lot of questions all the time because there's a confusion around agentic workflows and direct LLM calls. So some companies or peoples, they basically just call the LLM models via API and they call it agentic. However, on the bright side of the things, the agents are a totally different things. Agents are the personas that are actually getting powered by the LLM models as a brain power at the back. But what makes it agent is basically the capabilities, the tools that it has in its persona. Otherwise, calling a direct LLM model via API is just a an AI based development or AI based workflow. So in this demo, what we're gonna have is we're gonna have 5 agents in place. Researcher agent with a web search tool. What this will do is basically based on what you ask, it will research the whole internet to give you the best accurate information from the internet sources instead of the knowledge base. Then we will have a planner agent that has a code interpreter tool that will basically sequence the time slots, detect the scheduling overlaps, and it will basically make the planning for us for our itinerary. Then we have a budget agent because we don't have an infinite money. What we need to is we need to budget up our planning. So we will have this budget agent with the code interpreter tool that will basically calculate the exact cost with the right calculations. Then we have our optimizer agent that will have another tool for code interpreter that will basically recompute the revised budget after trimming down to make sure everything is in place. Everything is actually accurate and ready to provide to us. Then we will have a finalizer agent that will basically give us the output of everything in an MD file for us to review. Excuse me. So the loop runs on the Foundry, not in our code. What this means is basically we will write everything in Python, including agents and the workflows. And Foundry agent service will actually have those agents backed up with the model. Then what's going to happen is I'm going to show the workflow architecture, how this multi-agent workflow is working fine. Now we do have two routing layers because we always wonder, okay, I have multiple agents, but how am I going to route these agents based on some conditions? So basically, we do have a workflow shape, the graph that decides when to do what. We do have two principles here. One of them is fan out and one of them is fan in. That will basically forward the traffic to the conditional edges. And we have the second layer here, which is the actual agent routing that will decide which agent this traffic, this prompt will go to. It will decide which agent to use. So in this workflow, you will not care about how to route it, how to orchestrate it. The agent army, the agent workflow will actually do the routing automatically for you. And when I mention about fan out and fan in, I actually want to explain a bit more what these are. So let's say I'm the user who is going to provide a prompt to my agent. Basically, that agent will send my prompt to my three agents: research agent, planner agent, and the budget agent. These will run in parallel, right? So, because each agent has their own task to do, they have different capabilities and tools. So, there is no reason for me to make it in a sequence. Instead, I parallelize my agents so I can gain from time and I can gain from tokens. The only thing is, as you're running multiple agents at the same time, that will basically consume your Windows token consumption as well as your context window very fastly. But then what happens? All these three agents will bring the results of their findings, of their intelligence, into a single pool that will aggregate those results and merge into a single trip proposal. This is coming from the Microsoft Agent Framework. That you have a pool of the agent results, all the information, then you will be basically routing this to the necessary agents. Let's say if you're planning a trip for $2,000 to Thailand from Toronto, but that is not possible, then what you're going to have in the pool saying, okay, this is not possible and it's over budget. So let's send it to optimizer agent. Or if it's feasible and if it's not over, if it's in the budget, what it's going to do is it will basically send it to finalizer agent that will actually output the itinerary for you. By the way, if you guys have any questions, anything that you want to ask, please feel free to put it in the chat. I want this session to be interactive, so I can directly answer to your questions if needed. The sneak peek in the code is basically we have a workflow builder in this agentic framework. So what you do is basically this is one of the snippets in my repository that actually does the workflow. And you can see fan out edges and you can see fan in edges. So basically I declare which agents to be used in parallel and I declare which agents to be used when routing the decisions. And those are your agents, your visibility. You can actually version them and they are always editable. Let's say you have an agent that is not very capable or you need to make improvements. You can always improve, edit, and version your agents in AI Foundry. Without further to say, I want to go into the live demo so I can actually show from scratch how to build such thing, including infrastructure deployment from scratch, and you guys can take it back home and play around with it, as well as deploy and develop your own agentic workflows. Before I go into the demo itself, are there any questions?
None currently for now. Fine.
All right, amazing. So I should be sharing my Visual Studio Code over here. Are you guys able to see my screen right now?
Yeah, yes, we can.
All right, amazing. So this is my repository where we're gonna be building from scratch. Um, how it works is this is the workflow diagram. In a nutshell, we will basically prompt at the end of it, we will basically prompt where we want to go with how much money, and it will fan out to my agents to run in parallel. Then after getting the results from my agents, we will have it in a fan in aggregator, and based on the results, we will basically conditionally route our planning either to the optimizer agent to optimize it, or if it's all good, we will basically route it to the finalizer agent that will give us the output. These are all the details that I'm going to be sharing you guys with in the repository. Then what you need to do is, as everything goes through Python and Bicep, you will need to have as a prerequisite Python installed, Azure CLI installed, and you should have an Azure subscription. And what we want to do is basically we want to deploy an AI Foundry here first, right? So in order to deploy this AI Foundry, all you need to do is just follow these instructions. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to deploy from scratch. So when I go over here, first you need to do basically is provide the name of the location, which location region that you want to deploy your AI Foundry in, as well as what is the resource group name that you will have. So in this matter, what I'm gonna do is RG beyond single agent Malta. So I put these in my environment variables. Then what you need to do is you need to log into your Azure with Azure CLI and set your subscription. The reason is because we are going to use our own identity to basically deploy these locally, right? Then I have written a bicep template that will actually deploy the whole infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about it. All you need to do is basically do Azure group create and put this command here and run it. So what it's going to do is it's going to spin up my bicep environment. And as you guys can see, it basically first created my resource group. Then the next thing is basically you should run the AZ deployment group create. This is a template, a bicep template that will deploy AI Foundry project, that will deploy the AI Foundry instance, as well as it will deploy the model in it, as well as it will deploy the log analytic workspace to trace the logs, right? And in the repository itself, if you go into the infrastructure, you can see these are the infrastructure as code modules. You have a Foundry Bicep module, and you have the main Bicep module if you are familiar with the infrastructure as code here. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to say yes, and this will start deploying my infrastructure in a minute here. Then I'm going to be showing you guys jumping into the Azure once it is deployed, so we can take it from there. While this is deploying, if there are any questions, I can take those questions. So I'm gonna be jumping into the Azure while it is deploying. So now you should be able to see my Azure portal. In the meantime, my deployment is happening, right? So if I go, so now my deployment is done. If I refresh my page in Azure, what we'll see is we will see a new resource group called RGB on single agent Malta. And here, if I go in there, my expectation is seeing the Foundry project, application insights, and log analytic workspaces. So my infrastructure just spun up in a matter of couple of minutes with the infrastructure as code. So what I want to do here now is I want to go into the Foundry, show around a bit before we actually deploy our agents, right? So what I want to go is I want to go to the project, Foundry project itself, and it has a unified, dedicated um, dedicated portal itself. Yes, Balagoon, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I noticed earlier when you were I think back on VS Code, I noticed you only had the Foundry as the model. So I just want to be clear. It seems the other resources were just defined within the main.bicep, right? And then you have the modules, only the Foundry in the model.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
You can have models for other resources as well. This is just a demo script, so you can have model reusable models for each of the resources and have them declared in the main.bicep. So you can actually use by using the same model, you can deploy multiple resources, if you will.
Yeah, got it.
Amazing. Thank you for the question. So now we are able to see the Microsoft Foundry portal. This is a separate portal than the Azure portal itself. The first look is basically it has widgets that tells you what you can do, how you can do it. The first thing, what I want to go is it has a new look. So in this toggle, you can see new Foundry, but if I basically close it up, it should take me to the old Foundry UI. So you can play around with this. I'm not going to go very detailed, but I'll jump into new Foundry UI here. Then what I want to go is I want to go into the build section of it. So first thing first, you see the agent stuff here. And basically there are no agents yet because we haven't deployed our agents yet. If I go to the deployments, which is actually the model deployments here, what we deployed with the bicep template is the GPT-5 mini model. So this is coming from our bicep templates. And here you can see the project endpoint and the API key. If you like to call this model from your application or different systems using the API, you can 100% call it using these. And it actually provides you a sample code snippets based on different languages. So whatever language supported language you use, you can actually click here and it will provide you how to call this model in your application. Furthermore, you can actually Foundry actually has like a playgrounds in itself. So let's say you just want to get familiar with the AI Foundry itself. You can open in Playground the deployed model, and this will actually give you a playground that you can interact with the model itself, where you can give custom instructions. You can attach tools to your models, knowledge bases, and much more. And what you can do is you can just talk with the model, but this is not what we're going to do today. Our plan is to actually deploy agents in AI Foundry and get the things up and running for us. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'll jump into my Visual Studio Code to start deployment of my agents here. So just give me a minute here. So now, following my README file, I have deployed my infrastructure. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to scroll down through my README file and it tells me what to do here, right? So I go in here. I deployed everything. What I want to do is I want to run this capture deployment outputs in my environment file because I need to have my endpoints. I need to have my deployment model type and stuff. So that those informations are going to be fetched from the environment file. I am going to run this over here, which as you can see, it wrote the values into my environment file here. If you are using API key authentication, you can do the same. Right now, I am going to use my own own account to authenticate and do all the operations, right? So scrolling down here, the last thing, the actual thing that I will be doing is actually deploying my Python, deploying my agents to Foundry. So I do have this Python script under the scripts here that calls deploy agents.python, right? And here, these are all my Copilot updates. So here, this is a Python script that actually deploys multiple agents into my Foundry. As you can see, I am using a trip planner module that I actually developed myself using the Microsoft Agent Framework, and this basically will deploy 5 different agents. And each agent, as you can see, has different tooling over here. So I'm not going to go very detailed in the code itself. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to run the script to deploy those agents, not this one. So it is going to be this one over here. So, oh, I didn't install this library. So let me actually install it real quick. Skip that. You would never have a demo that is fully working, right? So let's actually, I may just miss something over here. Let me actually log into the Azure just in case it doesn't have my credentials. Now what I'm gonna be doing is I do have these, then I should be able to deploy. So in this case, this is actually a good example. You can leverage Copilot over here, right? So what we can do is we can give the problem to the Copilot. I'm not sure if you guys are using GitHub Copilot, but I'm heavily using Copilot over here, and it will take a look at my problem. This is actually a great demo being happening right now. Um, Now it is troubleshooting my issue over here. I am just going to let it do what it needs to be doing. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. I would be happy to answer those. I think we're having a library version issue over here, which was working fine for me before, but I changed my terminal, so there might be an issue about that. In a minute, Copilot should be able to get it done.
While this is happening, just in case you have any questions, you can put them in the chat if you don't not want to speak up about them, but just put them in the chat and we'll be more than happy to have a conversation about it.
Absolutely. So now my Copilot actually fixed the issue. So I am just going to run my script. And as you can see, it is deploying my agents with the tools, Right now, it is deploying the researcher agent, planner agent, and other agents here. So once it is done with the deployment, I'm gonna jump into Azure and show you guys my agents over here. So now, as you guys can see, all my 5 agents are actually deployed. So I'm switching back to my Azure over here in a second. And as you can see here, if I give this a refresh, we have 5 agents right now. So if I go to my researcher agent, just to give you guys an overlook of what this agent would look like, I do have my model that this agent is actually using, which we deployed already. Then you'll have your instructions, because as we all know, custom instructions are very important in order to make your agent behavior in a standard way. Otherwise, your agent will not know what it does, what type of direction it should follow. So these instructions are based on the prompt type. So you should definitely give those instructions all the time. Then what we have here is the tools, right? Because tools are very important. Tools are the capabilities, skill sets of these agents. What we have here is the web search tool attached to this agent. So my agent can actually search through internet and bring the necessary information from there. And if you like to improve your agents furthermore, you can actually add knowledge bases, right? For instance, if I click on my knowledge base, there's this resource called Foundry IQ that you can actually create, and you can connect multiple knowledge base resources into that Foundry IQ. For instance, if you have a SharePoint site and you want your agent to connect to SharePoint and work with your documentation or website over there, you can do that. Or if you have like a database that your agent should be able to fetch data from, you can do that. So whatever knowledge source, whatever database that you think of that your agent can reach out to, you can attach those into the Foundry IQ and have your agent access to there, right? Then you have your God memory. You can actually deploy a memory for your agent. So let's say your agent will, after deploying the memory, your agent can remember the past interactions and the tasks, so you don't have to reiterate all the time. As well as you have your guardrails, right? So because you have prompt doesn't mean your agent will not misbehave. In order to have all the jailbreak guardrails and everything, you can put guardrails in this matter. For instance, you can create a guardrail here, or you can all do this with the Python. So our recommendation, the best practice here is always codify your agents instead of going through this portal. I'm just visualizing this portal for us to understand it, but everything should go through the coding because this is one of the best practices. So some of the guardrails are basically jailbreaks. So basically no one can actually bypass our agent behavior and everything. Or you have indirect prompt injections. As in the current world, the prompt injection is one of the vulnerabilities and security attacks that basically sneaks into your agentic application behavior. Then you have content harms. Let's say you can block based on the content type. It could be like a hate, sexual, self-harm, and violence. This is where you can put all those, you can actually arrange all those filters and guardrails to make sure that your agent behaves in that standard way that you want it to be, right? So now I do have all my agents over here, my 5 agents. What I'm going to be doing is basically I'm going to be jumping back into my Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to be showing you guys how we can actually use this stuff, right? Now we are in our Visual Studio Code. Everything is basically deployed. All we need to do is we have this trip planner here, right? So we will run this trip planner code over here, which is going to run our agents in a workflow, multiple agentic workflow that will do the work for us. So what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be running this. The prompt that I have is basically I am saying, okay, plan my 3-day trip to Valletta in April with budget $2,200. So what I'm going to be doing is start running this. Um, I think we haven't installed the module here, so I'm just going to go back here. We should be able to have all these, but I am just going to run these two as it is a new terminal for me. So what you should do is you should install the modules, install the dependencies to make sure all is working fine. Now we should be able to run this without a problem. Now you can see, I can see this is the backend of my flow, but basically the info is sent to trip planner, research agent, planner agent, and all my tokens are getting over there. Now I get 200 response from the planner, from my project, AI Foundry project. Now my budget agent is done, and my research agent is actually done, and planner agent is actually done, because as you guys know, they all ran in parallel work stream to basically gain from the time. And if I zoom in a bit more here, over here, then what happened here is basically after those parallel agents, the fan out agents are done, we aggregate all the results into a single pool. Right here, the aggregation started and aggregation is done. Now we validate and route based on the results, and route decision is finalizing. That basically tells us the agent behavior, the results coming from three agents are actually fit in our prompt, so we don't actually need to optimize it, route to the optimizer agent, which actually puts the over budget variable to the false as well as the conflict to false. That is the filters that are the conditions to route to the finalizer agent. And here you can see it is routing to my finalized agent, and then my finalizer agent picks up the results and get them written in this MD file. So my MD file is the output of all of these. If I open up my MD file here to visualize it better, um, this is the trip overview that I have been trying to do. So basically, the destination is Valletta, month is April, budget is 200, duration is 3 days. What my agent is first do is basically they take a look at the weather in Valletta in April, how it is, and here you can actually see it gives me the forecast link that essentially opens up a new window here. So let me see if I can open up into VS Code here as well, because that opens up in the can we get this open up in browser here? I don't think we can do that right now, but you basically it opens up in my other window over here that gives me the weather in April for Valletta, and you have all other links. If I go to the itinerary here, day by day, even like an hour by hour, it gives me all the itinerary details, right? It tells me, hey, from 9 to 10:30, you basically should do this. From this time to this time, visit this. And all of them has a map link that actually got fetched from the internet. If I click on it, I actually want to show you guys this part together. So let me actually share my whole screen if you don't mind to get this shown here. Just give me a sec over here. I am going to share my whole screen. Please let me know if you guys are able to see it. I know my screen may be a bit small from your perspective here, but let's say if I click on the forecast, that's a working URL for me. And you can see it's coming from the Accuvator Valletta in April, and I can actually see it If I go to the day one and if I click on the map over here, that actually takes me to the Google Maps to Valletta Central Cafe. And same applies to the rest of the iteration details, right? So that actually takes me to the Google Maps. What you can potentially do as an improvement is there are multiple things. Like this is just a quick demo to show you guys what you can do, because this is one of my biggest hurdles when planning my vacations, to plan out my itinerary, right? Where to go, how to do it, and get all the details in a link matter, in a list matter that I can actually follow. So this agent or multiple agent workflow that actually starts helping me. And my initial plan is to actually start using this for my vacation plans, vacation travels. But this is just one of the demos. Basically, you can apply the same principle. The the conclusion should be basically how we can have multiple agents in an orchestration flow using Microsoft Agent Framework, which is the best practices, industry best practices out there that can apply in our situation. It could be a side project like this, or it could be a production grade enterprise level agentic workflow, agentic application that you can actually develop your agents and deploy into AI Foundry and orchestrate them, that can actually do enterprise grade level orchestration for you, right? So, and then it basically gives me all the sources here, not just the maps, but it basically provides me all the links and much more. I think this was demo. Before I switch my screen back to PowerPoint, are there any questions related regarding the demo, regarding the technical side of things?
I have one. I think it's very
Yes,
insightful, and also I think it's really amazing that we're able to see the direct implications and implementations as regards our personal lives and how we could also improve and deploy on this. With that said, I was wondering, would you be kind enough to share this repo with us so that people in our
absolutely.
audience could also walk through with it and improve on that if they can?
That's 100%. This is the repository. I am going to share the link in the chat.
Okay.
So this is a public repository. The My way of doing demos is actually making my repositories available, as well as having a detailed README, so other people can actually follow the README and get this done themselves, and they can improve it. I put the link in the chat, so feel free to fork the repository, start a repository, or clone it and make it your own version. If you have any questions, you can open issues into the repository, or you can directly reach out to me through LinkedIn as well. Without that being said, I am going to share my PowerPoint once again to get to the close line here. Just give me a sec. I know it's a bit of a hurdle to switch between windows, but in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask them out. Hmm, excuse me. So after the demo, if you take a look at the behind the scenes, parallel span, parallel agents is basically taking around like in total, this workflow takes around 12 seconds. Imagine like you basically have an orchestration that plans out everything with all the proper resources and due diligence in 12 seconds. If you were to do this yourselves, I would like highly, I would say it would at least take you an hour to do this yourselves, even with the different I'm pretty sure we all are using different AI toolings like ChatGPT or Claude or Cursor or whatever you have. I tried this. It literally, like, it can make you an itinerary, but it doesn't give you as accurate planning as this, because this is a custom agentic workflow that you can do, right? Then this is the Microsoft Agent Framework pattern. So we are not reinventing the wheel from scratch. Definitely, there are a lot of customization, but we are actually using Agent Framework library Microsoft and use all the orchestration flows and functions. The function is called the workflow builder. That's the graph container that actually starts the execution. And you have fan out and fan in functions that I already explained. And you have multi-selection edge groups, which is dynamic conditional routing that we use for our routing. Basically, what is good to have here as a conclusion is we should learn the shape once and ship it with the official packages. Once you know this framework and the details, you can build different type of agentic workflows as long as you have the framework in place. And the three dials that we actually need to know, there were some hurdles that I came across during my sorry, my camera was off. I just realized it, but it gets turned off for some reason. So I'm not sure why it's being happening. Okay, now we're good. So basically, the three things that needs to be considered is model quota and the TPM, the token per minute. Um, when you deploy Azure AI Foundry, it doesn't provide you unlimited usage because it's an enterprise tool. And as we all know, running AI models or AI agents means money. So you can basically come with some of the hurdles that says, okay, you're out of your quota or you're out of your TPM, which is token per minute, because when we do like a fan out operation, which actually runs multiple agents at the same time, if all these agents are using same model, that will basically that may exceed your token per minute limit, right? Right now, I do have 50,000 tokens per minute limit, but having three or multiple agents running at the same time may exceed that. So we want to make sure that we consider that and we have the necessary limits in place. Then the reasoning effort is low right now. So basically, what this means is I got this into low because this is like a brain power behind my model that I use as a low effort to keep the final answers coming. When you increase the reasoning effort, you can have it medium, you can have it high. It means agents, the model itself will do more due diligence, more deep dive research. They will bring more accurate answers, outcome to you, but while doing those deep mining over there, they will basically consume a lot more tokens. So be mindful of those. And furthermore, let's say we have tools, but we all know MCPs are very useful tools, right? So let's say if you have a specific tool that you want to use for some of the sources and such, for example, there are website for travelers like Expedia, Kayak, or travel.com, or even like Google Flights. You can actually implement those tool MCP servers into your agents. So your agents will know what tool to use. They can actually fetch information from those instead of going through the whole internet, if you will, right? With that being said, the win is not one more prompt. It's actually a workflow your team can reason about, operate, and ship all the time. And what is next? And what could be done to actually improve this is instead of running this locally, we can actually build an front end for this. It could be like an website that is like a ChatGPT model, if you will, that you can actually give your prompt and it could show you the reasoning, what agents are doing on the side. So that's the next level that could implement into this. If you want to have this thing, or if you want to get around with it, if you want to play around with that, you can feel free to open a pull request implementing this feature or some other updates through repository. We can develop this furthermore. And regarding the official docs over here, these are the links and further readings. I would highly recommend you guys to take a screenshot of this, so and go to these documentations and read it at least to have a better understanding. If you're just getting started, or if you already started with some of these, you can actually learn more as there are advanced information in here as well. I think we have 10 minutes left, and I am out of the content that I supposed to be showing. So if there are any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. I would be happy to answer those.
So, are you planning on coming to Malta anytime soon?
Sorry, come again, please.
Are you planning coming to Malta anytime soon? You're
I
planning
am.
coming to Malta anytime soon?
Oh, the Malta. To be honest, not really. So this was the. I was just making a gesture to you guys as this is a multi-user group. Hopefully, hopefully one day. But I tried this. Like I was wondering because I'd never been to Malta before, and but I
Mhm.
heard about it. Even like my dad visited Malta a couple times, so I was
Oh,
wondering what I
nice.
if I were to go into Malta, what would it take? Where would I go? Actually, like if I'm assuming majority of you guys are from Malta, so you guys can actually validate if the outputs from agents are accurate and if those places are really good, the itinerary is proper, right? I
Yeah,
tried the
sure.
same. I tried the same thing for Canada, as I'm from Canada here.
Mhm.
It gives the proper answer. I know we don't have much things to do in Canada, maybe like not a lot of places to travel, but it still gives a solid itinerary.
Yeah, I mean, the places it's shortlisted were actually, I mean, those are tourist destinations, kind of.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
heard about it. There are a lot of tour. There's a lot to do in Malta, and I heard that it's a beautiful place.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. Just 1 minute. Let me confirm the name again. Thank you so much, Khan. Thank you so much, Balogun, for the questions. I think one question I always like to ask is, considering how AI is fairly new, and we see that we have a lot of people, especially even in our community, because we're engaged with universities and things like that. We get people who are interested into coming into this AI space. And for example, if, say, for example, I was a beginner and I see someone engineer a context like this where I can apply it to my own life, what would you say would be an advice or a beginner guide into getting into AI engineering itself and also being able to do context engineering and then build up platforms like it for someone who's possibly in university because some of our users are also in university and trying to get fully into AI itself.
Absolutely. So we get this question a lot. I think um, the first thing first is depends on your background and what you want to do. Whether if you're coming like whether you're coming from a software development or a QA or project management, right now AI opens a lot of doors to you. But if you're like a student starting from starting fresh, I would highly recommend getting into computer science first to understand what's behind the scenes, right? We need to know some sort of programming languages, even though AI is able to write all the code for us. But let's say we have that experience or we know the fundamentals going into the AI stuff and being like an AI engineer. There are multiple branches of the AI engineering as well. You need to decide, hey, do I want to be more like a front deployed engineer where I develop agents for systems or applications, or do I want to be behind the scenes um, who actually develop and improves the large language models, or do I want to be in the data side of things like data scientists or and such more, right? My Speaking from personal experience, just myself, I'm more on the front end side of things where I develop agentic applications, AI agents, and platforms because I'm coming from a software development and DevOps practice. So I know how to develop applications. All I need to do is learn how AI works, how agentic workflow agents are working, and I can actually create those agentic applications myself. Um, these links are very helpful that are on the screen right now, I think, to get started. But my if you were to ask on just one sentence, one advice to learn something, I think it will apply to any practice, not only AI engineering, is get your hands dirty. you should be doing things, you should be developing and trying. That's the only way to learn, not only by reading, right? I didn't read all of these documents. What I do is I go in there, I develop, I try stuff. Even for this demo, I spent maybe like 10 hours because I was trying different stuff. Not that I don't know, but I would say, how can I make this better, more accurate? And I was trying to follow the best practices.
Thank you so very much. I think that's a very near perfect answer because considering that AI will keep expanding and it keep impacting our daily lives, I feel like that's a very good answer on how to get into it and also to look at it across different contexts. Before I go on, is there like anyone with any other questions that would like to ask Khan? Be more than happy if you just open up your mic and speak. And if you also want to put it in the chat, that's also very nice. Oh yeah, how can we connect with each other? We have a community. You can join our community here. I'm just going to put up our links that has the community, social media handles, also community code of conduct and things like that. And also within that community, we have a lot of events. We also get to get in-person meetings and also virtual meetings like this. So that's a good way for us to connect. You can also connect with Khan via his LinkedIn handle. I put his LinkedIn earlier in the day. I'm going to put it up again. I going through his profile, I did see he's more than happy to have conversations with people around AI, how to design, how to build, or just general conversations generally around AI and the cloud itself. So be more than happy to connect with you. If there are no other questions, I think I'll just ask one more question from Khan because I know that the time we have is almost up. So I'll just say, going through this entire context or this entire build we have done so far, I for one, I feel like I have not really thought about implementing AI from a personal point of view. It's always been work related and all. Now I'm looking at it from the angle of um, setting up something similar to looking for vacation. But what if I was going to go into something more detailed? What would you say would, for example, say do some context around maybe I'm writing a project or I'm writing a master's project or even writing documentation or something. And then I have now set up my backend, which are like the source of knowledge. And then I pick specific information. Are there specific things I could do that will prevent it from having hallucinations and giving me wrong information according to things I expect?
Absolutely. So the hallucinations is one of the biggest concerns around agentic applications and AI. Right now, in order to avoid hallucinations, I think a couple things needs to be applied. The first thing first is instructions to the models, right? What that's the first gate that basically tells your model how to behave. The second thing is basically the knowledge bases. As much as you feed your AI models and the agents, wrap them
Mhm.
around with the necessary tools and the knowledge bases, they will have a better understanding instead of hallucinating and coming up with an other different knowledges. Because the way that AI models and the agents are hallucinating because they don't have enough context or standard. So they basically try to go to the conclusion, but they find a workaround. And when they go with the workaround, it's basically getting out of the hands, getting out of the control, and they hallucinate and cannot give you the outcome. So you got to make sure during that pipeline between your outcome and your input, the AI agent shouldn't behave in the matter of in the standard that you want to have it. So prompting, the instructions, the guardrails, as well as the knowledge and the tool set yet that you provide to your agents and AI models.
Okay. Thank you so very much for that. I see a note or a comment here from Marvelous. Do you want to just give us a quick rundown on how you think
Sure.
I can improve it?
So I see a question. Yeah, the question is setting up a RAG system would not solve the issue. Even RAG system is a different approach. So RAG systems are actually chatbots that are retrieval augmented generation systems where you have a model and you have a knowledge base behind that model. It could be your database or some other document repository, and all it does is basically generate basically it uses those document repositories as a knowledge base. But still, we see a lot of hallucinations in the RAG systems. Whether you have a RAG system or you have an agentic pipeline, not only the documentation knowledge base is enough, it should be the instructions and the guardrails around the model and the RAG system matters. So it's not only one thing. Multiple parameters and practices should be combined to have the most accurate answer.
Right. Thank you so very much, Khan. It's been a wonderful session. I will just give 1 minute to Imo if you have anything to add before we call the session or we call it a day, seeing as we are exactly on
Uh,
time.
Thank you very much, Moses. Thank you, Khan. Thank you for taking the time to give back to the community. I just wanted to add about when Moses asked about has agent hallucination. I want to find out is the temperature, the model temperature, does it have any impact on this? Does it contribute
Absolutely.
to? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. So the audience should take note that if your temperature is high, that is the model temperature is high, it might contribute to hallucination. So at this point, we will call the day and see you in our upcoming sections. We have upcoming section across the upcoming month and weeks. So endeavor to attend. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful having you here.